Good evening. I'd like to call to order tonight's meeting of the regular meeting of the Village Mayor and Board of Trustees. It is January 26th. Our first order of business, of course, is the Pledge of Allegiance. And tonight, we get to be led by a Pleasantdale Middle School student named Grace Kirschbaum. She is a fifth grade student at Pleasantdale. According to her principal, John Klimko, Grace is in gymnastics and the volleyball club, as well as the most recent book she read that she really liked is Out of My Mind. I'd like to hear the summary for that one. Her favorite subject is language arts. She likes country music and is a musician herself, playing the cello. She's here tonight with her mother Penny and her sister Caroline and brother Lester. Grace, will you please come to the front and lead us the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, Grace. Thanks for joining us. And Karen Thomas, may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Francis. Trustee Grasso.
Here.
Trustee Paveza.
Here.
Trustee Bolus.
Here.
Trustee Ruzek.
Here.
Trustee Maneri.
Here.
Mayor Straub.
Here. And the first order of business is the audience portion. Are there any audience members and residents that would like to join us or would like to address the board at this time? Seeing no one? Any non-residents? Okay. On the consent agenda, all items listed with an asterisk are considered routine by the village board and will be enacted by one motion. There will be no separate discussion of these items unless a board member or citizen so request, in which event the item will be removed from the consent agenda. Under minutes, 5A, approval of regular board meeting of January 12th, 2015. 5B, receive and file draft Pathway Commission meeting of January 8th, 2015. 5C, receive and file draft Personnel Committee meeting of January 12th, 2015. 5D, receive and file draft Plan Commission meeting of January 19th, 2015. 5E, receive and file draft Hotel Marketing Committee meeting of January 20th, 2015. And 5F, receive and file Economic Development Committee meeting of January 20th, 2015. Under ordinances, 6C, approval of an ordinance granting special use pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to allow retail sale of bottles of wine for consumption off premises and in conjunction with the operation of a restaurant at Eddie Merlot's located at 201 Bridewell Drive. We have 6D, approval of ordinance denying a variation or amendment to the Village of Burr Ridge sign ordinance for the extension of hours for temporary right-of-way signs for McNaughton Development. 6E, approval of ordinance amending Chapter 25 of the Burr Ridge Municipal Code by adding a new Class R liquor license. And 6F, last of the ordinances, approval of ordinance amending the Village of Burr Ridge Personnel Manual adopted by ordinance number 661. Resolutions, 7A, adoption of resolution regarding MFT funds for the 2015 road program. And under considerations, 8D, approval of request from Pauline Ozels of a Run for Veterans to conduct a 5K walk fundraiser on Sunday, July 26th, 2015, and for the village to sponsor the event. 8E, approval of Plan Commission recommendation to approve an amendment to the zoning ordinance to add business vocational school to the list of special uses in the O2 office and hotel district, to approve a special use to permit a business vocational school in the existing office building, and to approve a variation for a reduction in parking for a vocational school, Z-13-2014, located at 1333 Burr Ridge Parkway, Insight Real Estate. Considerations, 8F, approval of Plan Commission recommendation to approve a special use to permit a restaurant with alcoholic beverage sales with an outdoor dining, Z-03-2015, 505 Village Center Drive. That's the new Sticks and Stones restaurant. 8G, approval recommendation to award contract for brush pickup. 8H, approval recommendation to award contract for tree trimming. 8I, approval recommendation to award contract for purchase of residential water meters. 8J, approval of request for raffle license for Gower PTO and hosting facility license for Gower Middle School for event on March 13th, 2015. Raffle ticket sales from 2/1/15 to 3/13/15. 8K, approval of request for raffle license for the West Suburban Symphony Society and hosting facility license for Chicago Marriott Southwest at Burr Ridge for the Society's fundraising dinner dance on March 7th, 2015. We have 8L, approval of recommendation to approve a request from Willowbrook Burr Ridge Chamber of Commerce for placement of temporary promotional signs for the Business Expo on June 3rd, 2015, and the Cruisin' 66 Fest on August 8th, 2015. 8M, receive and file resignation letter of probationary police officer Jennifer Kyle. And 8N, approval recommendation to authorize the Board of Fire and Police Commissions to fill the vacancy on the police force created by the resignation of Officer Jennifer Kyle. 8O, approval vendor list in the amount of $641,571.05 for all funds, plus $205,200.19 for payroll, for a grand total of $846,771.24, which includes a special expenditure of $22,956.35 to Burr Ridge Bank and Trust for principal and interest on installment loan for County Line Road, Burr Ridge Parkway landscaping improvements. May I have a motion to accept the following items on the consent agenda? That's 5A, 5B, 5C, 5D, 5E, 5F. Under ordinances, 6C, 6D, 6E, and 6F. Resolutions, 7A. Under considerations, 8D, 8E, 8F, 8G, 8H, 8I, 8J, 8K, 8L, 8M, 8N, and 8O. May I have a motion to approve?
Second.
Second. Roll call, please.
Trustee Grasso.
Yes.
Trustee Ruzak.
Yes.
Trustee Maneri.
Yes.
Trustee Paveza.
Yes.
Trustee Bolus.
Yes.
5-0.
All items pass at 5-0. Under ordinances, 6A, consideration of an ordinance granting a special use pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance to amend the Village Center PUD to add dental office with ancillary retail sales to the list of special uses on the first floor of the building commonly known as 450 Village Center Drive, Z-01-2015, 450 Village Center Drive, First Family Dental.
All right, this was discussed at the last meeting, approved by a vote of 5-1, but since it was not unanimous, I didn't put on the consent agenda. So these are just the ordinances that grant the ability for the dental office to be located at that specific location in the first building on Village Center Drive.
Yeah, and just to reiterate, Steve, I believe the homeowners association president for that building rescinded a letter and that they were all in favor of it.
Correct.
Right. Any discussion? I'm sorry.
Make a motion to approve the ordinance.
Second.
Roll call.
Trustee Bolus.
Yes.
Trustee Maneri.
Yes.
Trustee Grasso.
No.
Trustee Paveza.
Yes.
Trustee Ruzak.
Yes.
4-1.
Motion passes 4-1. On ordinances 6B, related, consideration of an ordinance granting a special use pursuant to the Burr Ridge zoning ordinance and the Burr Ridge Village Center PUD to allow a dental office with ancillary retail sales, Z-01-2015, 410 Village Center Drive, First Family Dental.
Again, this creates the special use for that facility.
And that goes site-specific to this location within that building on the first floor.
Correct.
Make the motion?
Second. Sorry.
Any discussion? Roll call.
Trustee Maneri.
Yes.
Trustee Bolus.
Yes.
Trustee Paveza.
Yes.
Trustee Grasso.
No.
Trustee Ruzak.
Yes.
4-1.
Motion passes 4-1. Under considerations, consideration under 8A, consideration of request from John Manos, owner of Brookhaven Marketplace, to amend the liquor code to allow for the sale of packaged alcohol on Sundays prior to the current 11 a.m. start time.
Right, you have received a request from Mr. John Manos, one of the owners of Brookhaven Marketplace, to allow his grocery store to sell alcohol on Sundays prior to the current 11 a.m. start time. Mr. Manos is here. I just saw he walked in. Welcome. We'll be hearing from you in just a second. But his position is that since other communities allow for the sale of alcohol on Sundays earlier than 11 a.m. and he's open for business, obviously, people come into his business to buy groceries and so forth, and the question is, why can't they buy a bottle of wine or whatever alcoholic beverage they would like prior to 11 a.m. when they may be in the store? We did check the start times of other communities. You can see what some of those communities are. Hinsdale, 10 o'clock, LaGrange, 11, Woodridge, 6, Willowbrook at 10 a.m., Darien at 9, Oak Brook at 10, Lombard at 9, Westmont at 9, Countryside at 10, Western Springs at 7. So, Mr. Manos, why don't you come up?
Good evening. Thank you for listening to our request here this evening. Steve, as usual, did our work for us. I had to pass around what some of our competitors were doing, and we wanted to respectfully request a little bit earlier of an opening period. I think we performed relatively well over the several years here that we've been here. Being as cautious as we can as to any minor sales or any issues that we've had there, and knock on wood, we haven't had any. So I have to be honest with you, between Tony's opening up and Mariano's, they've put up a pretty good dent in our numbers. So this was something we'd like to put in front of you and have you talk about it. Certainly be willing to answer any questions that we could, and abide by everything that we need to here to make all this work for all of us.
Okay.
I'd like to ask the police chief his comments on it, how he feels.
Okay. Chief?
I'm sorry.
Hello, Chief.
Good evening. I don't see any issue with it. We have not had any problems at Brookhaven that I could recall with liquor sales. I have nothing negative to present to you tonight.
Okay, thank you.
Trustee Maneri?
Yes. Mr. Manos, what time does your store open on Sunday?
7 a.m.
Opens at 7 a.m.
Do you consistently get requests for people purchasing liquor that early?
It's amazing, and it's typically not what you think, but it's more people that are going to go somewhere after church or after somewhere, and they'll come in, they'll pick up a bottle of wine, or they'll pick up a bottle of whatever, champagne, and it's something that they'll do as the usual part of their shopping in the morning. And we always have some of the people, which always amazes me, that they're waiting in the parking lot for the doors to open to just go in, not to buy liquor, but sure, it's a part of their shopping.
I just like the comment. I was there on a Sunday morning, and the couple in front of us wanted to buy, and they couldn't. I don't remember what time it was, but it does happen occasionally. I don't think it's a big deal. I
Agreed.
personally don't see anything wrong with it. Their
Trustee
request.
Yeah, what I've noticed in the summertime is a lot of times you'll have people that get invited out to a party or to a boating event or something, and then they want to stop in and bring a gift or bring something, and then and we don't want to be, we want to remain pro-business and pro for the village residents. So, I could see the need on a Sunday in the summertime, especially where people want to stop in early and then go, make their rounds or drive out to where they're going and pick it up here locally instead of having to drive someplace else and purchase it.
Agreed. The Jewel and Tony's are open at 7 a.m. and they're, selling at 7 a.m. So,
Yeah. Which jewel is that? The Westmont?
Clarendon Hills.
Clarendon Hills on 55th Street?
Right. Tony's has been really they've been a pretty good dent. Ever since they opened, we saw them coming, we know them, they're good competitors, and we certainly respect their business, and for our fair shot, that's all.
Well, I know one thing we'd like to do is to have our businesses on a level playing field with neighboring communities.
What time does Tony's open? I'm sorry.
7 a.m.
7 a.m. Mayor.
So to kind of keep a consistent level playing field, I think that would be, advantageous to kind of meet that, to give you a level playing field.
Agreed.
I have a question regarding our liquor license now. How do we amend it? What type of housekeeping do we need
Well,
to do?
that's a good question. We have a separate liquor license for Brookhaven Marketplace, and there's really two other businesses that this could affect or not, depending on how you want this to be handled, because they have separate licenses. But you also have the Shell Station that sells packaged liquor, and you also have the County Line Wine Merchant that sells liquor, packaged liquor. And now, of course, you have Eddie Merlot's, but those businesses aren't open. Like John's business is open at 7 a.m. County Line- And Shell is, but the County Line Wine Merchant, Eddie Merlot's would not be. And again, Cooper's Hawk has a separate license as well, and I think they're at 11 o'clock for Cooper's Hawk. So if you want to tie this into packaged liquor, you could, well, I mean, would Cooper's Hawk be considered? I suppose you could walk in there and buy a bottle of wine at Cooper's Hawk. But that's really a restaurant-type situation. If you're just talking simply packaged liquor, you could just leave it for just
Specific.
Brookhaven, or you could change it so that both the Shell Station and Brookhaven could do it. So you really have that flexibility, whatever you'd like it to be.
We haven't had any requests from the Shell station
We had issues selling alcohol at the Shell Station.
or any requests for earlier.
We haven't heard from them.
Nothing.
But they are open, obviously.
24 hours.
You can go in earlier in the morning, and theoretically, people may want, when they go buy gas at 8 or 9 o'clock in the morning, they may want to buy, alcohol there too, so.
What time does the present license for Shell terminate at night?
Terminate at night?
Hold on, I think I might have that for you.
Probably 2 a.m.
Well, my guess is whatever we approve for Brookhaven and Shell hears about it, they'll be coming in, so we might as well handle both of them the same way.
As long as the chief hasn't had any incidents at the Shell station.
The show, I have to look into that. I don't recall offhand. I don't recall any offhand, but I would feel better if I could query that for you and get that information.
Okay.
But the amendment would be to packaged liquors. So in theory, it would be all packaged liquors.
No, because they all have separate licenses, and so you would be amending those 2 licenses. In the
Those two
ordinance, they
individual
have
licenses.
separate licenses, so you'd just be amending
2 of them.
2 licenses.
Well, why don't we just specify just for Brookhaven right now and see what happens with Shell, and if there are other concerns that the chief has, as it's more transient than Brookhaven would be.
Well, we have to come back no matter what for an ordinance, so I mean, we'll have that information for you at the next meeting, but we could do either way.
Any other questions?
No.
John, I do have a question for you. Now, you're open until 8 o'clock on Sunday?
9 o'clock on
9
Sunday.
o'clock on Sunday. Any idea what percentage of your business you actually do, total business, you do between 7 and 11
In the morning.
in the morning?
I'll defer to my general manager if you don't mind.
First off, Sunday is our busiest
Here,
day.
why don't you come on here for a second, and that way you're also recognized by all the residents who are looking at you right now.
John Peter Bertakis, Director of Operations. Sunday is our busiest day of the week. Regardless of the time of year, it is the shopping day. And 7 to 11, I would say, is our we have 2 busy periods each Sunday. That's the morning spurt that gets up and, wants to get everything out of the way before they go on their Sunday activities. And then, it's the late afternoon. Percentage, if I had a guess, it'd be 30 to 40%. Happens before noon. It is a busy morning, our busiest morning. But yes, that would be a fairly accurate estimate.
And how do you spell your last name?
Bertakis.
Bertakis, great. Okay, thank you, John.
Thank you.
Make a motion
Yes, sir.
to allow,
Let's direct staff to prepare an
Well,
ordinance
yeah.
to allow.
forward so that at our next meeting, but I'd like to handle them, I'm kind of in agreement with Al, we can handle them both together, and they're both package sales. To do, have staff prepare an ordinance to allow Brookhaven, or packaged goods liquor licenses, to amend the liquor code to allow the sale of packaged alcohol on Sundays, starting at 7 a.m.
Pending any problems that Chief Madden would find with Shell, if there's no problems with Shell.
Agreed.
Second.
Pending your report, John.
You have a motion? And a second?
Second.
Any other discussion? Roll call, please.
Trustee Maneri?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Ruzak?
Yes.
5-0.
Motion passes 5-1. Under
So what will happen, so John, so you understand, nothing can be done until the ordinance is approved at the next meeting, so that's 2 weeks from now. And so, looks like it's a go, but you'll have to wait till the ordinance is actually approved.
Thank you very much.
Hang in there for 2 more weeks, we'll get you a level playing field.
Thank you, we appreciate that.
And-
If the Bears had done better, we'd
Yes.
And thank you, John, for being in our village. And we love Brookhaven, so thank you for being here.
enjoy being here.
Okay, next one, considerations 8B, consideration of recommendation to purchase wireless network equipment. Jerry?
Good evening. This is just a review of this year's expansion of our wireless network and an update on how we're doing with the wireless network and the video surveillance program for the residents. Just a snapshot of the network. The wireless network began development in 2009, and the configuration consists of 3 main components. The wireless backbone. This is the equipment that's installed on top of the Village Hall, Police Department, Public Works, and water towers. Access points are the equipment installed at the street level, and they create areas of coverage known as hotspots. And then mobile routers are equipment installed in vehicles that communicate with the access point and the backbone. Some of the uses and benefits for the wireless network: to connect the village buildings with our voice and data networks, provide field access for police, which are a number of things, putting the data network and voice networks in the squad cars. That allows them to have access to the police systems and their databases. They also utilize a wireless network for in-car report writing. This allows officers to remain in the field to write reports, which increases visibility. And the police brought online their e-ticket system. That is the ability to write tickets and submit information electronically to the counties, saving time and increasing efficiency. And also for the subdivision video surveillance program, the wireless network is used to provide video feeds from the subdivision back to the police departments. Slide here on the video surveillance program, an update on that. This is a service provided by the village for subdivisions wanting video surveillance in their neighborhood. The village staff provides surveys and final costs and overall management of the project for any subdivision interested in having video surveillance. The subdivisions pay for the cost of the camera equipment and installation, and then the subdivision can utilize our wireless network and provide those video feeds back to the police department for passive monitoring and investigative uses. We've had 6 subdivisions so far interested in it. Butterfields, that was installed in September of 2013. And that's a 4-camera system at their entrance. Carriageway and Chasemore, they're at the final stages. Both are voting within the next month, January for Carriageway and February for Chasemore. Lake Ridge Club, we're providing them surveys at this moment and a final cost proposal. They will be voting on that in April 2015. And the last 2, Burr Ridge Club and Wood Creek, they are just in the preliminary stages of looking at video surveillance.
Are there any other subdivisions that use it?
Not that I'm aware of this time. These are the people that have contacted me, and I've been dealing with them over the last, couple of years. Back to the network. To date, 14 wireless access points are in service, providing coverage for municipal properties, downtown areas, and the main thoroughfares of the village. For this fiscal year, we're wanting to expand to 4 more access points, and this is to provide coverage on Veterans Boulevard, Fieldstone, Carriageway, Tower Drive, Burridge Parkway, and Lincolnshire, Chasemore, and 79th Street. These network areas, they'll both provide coverage for the police and also improve the coverage for these neighborhoods that are interested in the video surveillance program. Just a listing of access points. The first 4 were the initial ones that we put in, networking the core of the village, the Central Park, municipal properties, business areas. 5 through 14, those were when we started moving out thoroughfares throughout the village. And then the 4 proposed are 15 through 18. Just looked at on the map, this is our coverage that we have. We'll start up north here, just take a look. One of the recommended access point is at number 15 there at Veterans Boulevard, and that will provide some coverage to some village streets, and there's a gap in coverage that we want to fill in right there too. And also Carriageway is looking at an 8-camera system, so it accomplishes all 3 of those, gives enough bandwidth to provide those residents with their camera system. Number 16, this is on the other side of County Line Square. That'll encompass Pace Parking Lot, Burridge Parkway, McClintock, and some other village streets, and also the front half of Chasemore. They're doing an 8-camera system, so 4 of the cameras will be located at this entrance. Number 17, that is the other side of Chasemore, and that will along 79th Street, and that will start filling in the east side of 79th Street. And finally, number 18, that is to fill in the gap on through 79th Street, and also provide Lake Ridge Club with a video feed, a network for their video feed. They're looking at a 4-camera system, I believe. And then just future years, we have Burridge Club up north and Wood Creek. They're both interested, but there's no network connectivity, so future year expansion will start concentrating both on the north and the south end of the village. So expanding with the 4 additional access points, this is equipment that we purchased out of the information technology fund that we set aside. The purchase of the 4 access points, we had a budget of $33,260, went out for a competitive bid, and we're recommending the lowest bidder, National Tech Sale, in the amount of $32,268. We'll be happy to answer any questions.
Jerry, can you go back to the map, please? My one question is, how did you prioritize, or the police department prioritize, what areas were next?
We first started out getting the core of the village, and then we went out to start doing major thoroughfares. John said it was most important to get, the main streets covered, working on County Line Road, 79th Street, Madison Street. And then, there is some interest on homeowners associations. So if we can kind of get these main village streets and also accommodate homeowners associations for a feed, then that's kind of like the game plan right now.
And has there been any discussion to cover more on the southwestern quadrant in the
And that'll be the next phase in the next, couple of years, is to start moving north and south. We've got kind of the core of the city and main streets, but there's lack of coverage both to the south and to the north. So we're going to start moving up in those directions.
And
the
is there,
topography shift, when you get to the southwest corner of the village, it really drops off, and so it makes it difficult you're gonna be winding up putting in more access points. I mean, they won't go as far, I guess is what I'm saying, and you're gonna have to probably put in more. But at this point, we're not seeing a lot of interest from homeowner associations in those locations. And so, obviously, our first priority would be the police, getting down to at least to 83rd Street, and then continue on County Line Road.
well, one of my greatest concerns would be southwest, because that's percentage-wise, that was the most number of burglaries are in the southwestern quadrant. So if there was an excuse to have more officers and their patrol cars in the area and to increase visibility, that might be something that you might want to consider. Prioritize.
What's the cost of a subdivision camera, and how many do you put in? Is it just depend?
They roughly installed, with everything, the installation, the labor, the electrical work, about $3,000 a camera. So for Heatherfields, it was about a $12,000 system. Chase Moore and Carriageway, they're looking at about $24,000. So we've done a lot of research as far as vendor and the equipment, and we got the prices down from what it was a number of years ago. So it was a Bosch camera system, high definition, very, very good quality outdoor cameras. Yeah.
Price has come down considerably.
Here, just to go over this, the homeowner associations or the subdivisions that are voting on putting cameras in their area, all of these will be covered by our access points, if all of them will decide to go through with it?
Yes, putting these 4 in will fill some gaps that we have this year. The one up north on Veterans Boulevard, to make sure Carriageway has enough bandwidth on 79th Street and over on 79th Street and on Chase Moore. So with this enhancement this year, we'll be able to make sure everybody has strong bandwidth for, their 8 or 4 camera systems.
Jerry, just for future planning, wouldn't it be beneficial to have cameras on the entrance ramps to I-55? I mean, you only have to have one at each entrance that would cover all of the cars. I don't know if there was a robbery in a certain area and you were trying to figure out if, hey, we're here A, B, and C, and I don't know, is there any?
That's a question for the chief.
It's
Yeah.
just kind of the difference between what homeowners are doing and maybe a license plate recognition system. Maybe John can speak to that. When we put a camera system in, it's typically made of 2 overview cameras that you can see make, model, color of vehicles, and then 2 license plate cameras to catch the traffic in and out, just concentrating on license plate. It doesn't attach to any high-speed database and video surveillance cameras. License plate recognition cameras.
We're actively discussing that subject of putting them near the main entrance points of the village, meaning the interstate ramps and so on. It's a lot of data.
Yeah.
The technical side that I'd have to really sit down with Jerry, because right now the cameras that are operational are recording activity, and it's in a video server. So we would have to discuss capturing that amount of data. And remember, this is a passive system. This isn't a traditional LPR, license plate recognition system, that is constantly running license plates against a nationwide database. This is just our system that's logging video, and it's not running plates. So we go in after the fact and query if we're looking for something specific.
Okay, thank you.
There is a positive to that, but we're also looking at other equipment that you're going to hear about in the budget process. So,
Thank you.
Anyone else?
Jerry, how many more access points do you think we need to cover the entire village?
We have 18 in service, and I would probably say about a dozen up north don't hold me to this, about a dozen down south, and maybe just a handful, half a dozen to pepper, the streets and gaps and stuff like that, so about 30. I can come up with a little better answer for you on that.
I was just guessing
I would
how
guess
much
about 30.
longer the project would go, how many years. And Paul, since you're here, is there any way we can ever access this wireless network to send back water meter readings to the Village Hall? Once it's complete, because I know we had some problems down south with the topography and stuff. Have you ever thought about that?
Usually the issue with that, and I'll look into that further, but the issue is that the software has to transmit. So it's not just a system that's tying data together, it actually has to transmit to interrogate the meters. So in a typical configuration, if you have a water tower, which was normally at the highest point in the land, if from one water tower you can hit all of the properties, you can ping it from there. If you had to have a second one, then you would need all that software and all the hardware to be duplicated.
Right.
If you need a third one, third. And so the problem in our town is that the topography is so variable that there are pockets that you'd have to have infrastructure for a very small pocket. And so that the issue is not necessarily the connectivity, it's the hardware and software that would be required at each location.
And dovetailing on this hardware wouldn't work.
It's a separate system that transmits, that interfaces with the meters.
Okay.
Anyone else?
I make a motion that we approve the recommendation for $32,268 to National Tech Sales.
Do I have a second? Trustee Grasso? Roll call?
Trustee Bowles, I'm sorry. Okay. Trustee Ruzak?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Maneri?
Yes.
4-0. 5-0.
Motion passes 5-0. And under considerations, 8C, consideration of Economic Development Committee recommendation to approve a subcommittee to oversee the creation of an economic development plan.
Right, as you know, the village board, during their goal session, established really their top goal, which is the creation of an economic development plan. We brought this to the Economic Development Committee at their January 20th meeting, discussed, how to go forward with it. We have an outline in place that, at least a proposed outline in terms of how we would do it. But the question came up, who would oversee and supervise the work of the staff, making sure that, the details were looked at and the work got done. And the feeling is that although the village board and the Economic Development Committee both will be very involved in the process, that we should have a subcommittee that really would oversee that work. And during that meeting, the Economic Development Committee made a recommendation to the village board to form a subcommittee. And that committee would be made up of the mayor, trustees Guy Francis and Len Ruzak, and Economic Development Committee member Zach Model. We're happy to answer any questions.
My only comment on this, Trustee Francis was very instrumental in moving this plan forward and bringing it during our goal-setting session. And I would sort of like to, and Mickey, you certainly do chair plenty of committees. I'd like to recommend that Guy be chair of this committee.
Well, in answer to your question, normally speaking, any committee that a mayor has been on, he's always been the chairperson, or she's been the chairperson.
Right, I understand that, but I'm sure Mickey would be willing to allow Guy to be chair on this committee. You certainly chair enough other committees, and Guy is very passionate about this project.
Didn't he do an entire presentation for it at the EDC?
Well, he was at the meeting, discussed it. He certainly researched it. He's very interested in the subject, and that's why we definitely want him on the committee.
But we haven't come up with a program exactly what this committee is going to do. So I think it's appropriate that the mayor be chairman. We have to come up with proper procedures to win what the duty of this committee is going to be.
Mr. Chair. Sure. And actually, this is something I'm also very passionate about. I can guarantee you one thing. Trustee Francis will have an active role in this committee. I certainly respect what he put together so far. I look forward to working with him closely and perhaps get it rolling, and then at a point in time, I could see moving it to Guy later. But at this point, I certainly love that. That was kind of part of my original love and passion. So,
As it was Guy, I respectfully ask you to reconsider that.
I'll certainly reconsider it in the future. But for now,
the recommendation, and so we need a motion to approve the recommendation.
Make a motion, we approve the committee.
do I have a second?
Second.
Roll call?
Trustee Ruzak.
Yes.
Trustee Grasso.
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa.
Yes.
Trustee Bolus.
Yes.
Trustee Maneri.
Yes.
5-0.
Motion passes 5-0. And there are considerations for announcement, deliberation, and/or discussion. Only, no official action will be taken. Have anything they'd like to contribute?
Only that we're going to hold our annual goals meeting for the budget after the next board meeting. I think we only really have one major item on the agenda. We should be able to get through it within a half an hour, and we've decided to hold it at that time. Would have liked to have a separate meeting, but we just couldn't find a date where everybody could be there. So we decided to do that. So just want to let everybody know. Is that February 9th? Is that the date?
It's February 8th.
Yes.
8th? 9th.
9.
9th? Okay.
I'd like to just make a comment that the last year run for veterans, they donated $500 to the Veterans Memorial Committee.
Wonderful.
And on that note, they have a new benefactor. It's a lone survivor.
Yes.
And that's a very respected organization down in Texas. Information we found out about them at lonesurvivorfoundation.org. So. Anybody else? Is there anyone in the audience that would like to address the board at this time?
Yes.
Goal setting, yes. Goal setting workshop is open to the public. Okay. Reports and communications from village officials. Anything additional? Trustee Maneri.
Yes, Ricky. I understand we have a new village, or a village resident that volunteered recently to be on the police pension fund. I commend any resident for volunteering, especially after the public beatdown of a 6-year person serving on that committee. And I commend any village residents. I was amazed that someone wanted to volunteer after that public beatdown. And I congratulate them. And I thank them for volunteering their service, their time away from their family for the betterment of the village. The second part of that is, much to my chagrin, on the night before Christmas Eve, Mickey, you sent out an email that said you were appointing this person. You know, we had a 3.5-hour meeting, and we even had in November a trustee step down off the dais and ask you to incorporate rather than alienate your trustees, your board. And this isn't political. I'm not running for re-election. And it's certainly not the newspaper misquoting you, because I have it here, and I will give the newspaper a copy, where it said, and I quote you, and surrounding the circumstances around my first nomination, I am going to exercise my option to appoint without board consent. So again, 2 meetings, 3.5 hours. nothing learned, and much to my chagrin. But it isn't political, and it isn't a misquote in the paper. So in the future, hopefully, you will incorporate your board rather than alienate them.
May I just say one thing? I believe when we got that email, there was also a taped interview with the candidate, and I
That was after
thought
the decision,
that
Janet.
He also, no, I thought he said that if you had any comments after watching the video, to call him.
Actually, it says he's already done it.
Right.
It was this, and if you wanted to watch it, I would have loved to. This person seems highly qualified.
Yeah.
I would have loved to, but the decision was already made, and then if you want to do and look over the interview, that's what it was, and it says it in here. So the decision was already made, and then if you would like to go and look up the resume, Janet, or I, or any trustee, we could. I'm just saying it would have been nice to have seen the interview before and given us that opportunity. Not a dictatorship, but a
I
democracy.
sort of thought they were running hand in hand, that he decided he was going to, but I wasn't prepared for this conversation, so I'm not reliving that.
That's why
from
I brought it.
A couple months ago, or a month ago, that this happened. But anyway.
Well, I didn't want
She's
to.
very qualified.
I concur.
Okay, good.
I would
So it's
have,
sort of,
I concur with you that I would have liked to, but I would have liked to after we had 2 meetings in November. I didn't bring it up at the last meeting because the newspaper wasn't here, so I'm not trying to drudge up old things, because I didn't want the newspaper not to be here and then
when he
misquote
was
it.
here, I don't think you were here at that meeting, because I talked with him after the last
Or the
meeting.
meeting before that I actually was at,
Yeah.
before I was out of town. But that's all, Mickey. In the future, I commend this person wholeheartedly. And Janet, I agree. I mean, certainly the resume reads just
Not just the
wonderful.
resume, there was an interview on YouTube that you
Yes.
saw the interview and heard her speak and all that.
Yes, and I commend her. And it's just nice to know these things and have all of our input, just like your husband used to do. When he was the village president, he incorporated all of us. I served under him for 2 years, and he incorporated all of us. So that's all we're asking. Incorporate, don't alienate. Thank you.
John, thanks for your input. But you're welcome to call me anytime and talk about these things too, so thank you. Okay? Thanks. Anything else?
Motion to adjourn?
Actually, no, I need to make a motion to go into closed session.
Executive closed session.
Some more? Need to announce the reasons why.
Okay, for a closed session for approval of closed session minutes of June 23rd, 2014, as well as receive and file draft personnel committee closed session minutes of January 12th, 2015, and also discuss a probable and imminent litigation.
Correct.
Do I have a motion
So move.
to go into closed session?
Second.
Second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any nays? Oh, sorry,
You have to vote on this one, don't you, Steve?
Actually, roll call?
You have to vote on this.
Yes.
Actually, roll call.
Trustee Maneri?
Yes.
Trustee Ruzak?
Yes.
Trustee Bolus?
Yes.
Trustee Pavesa?
Yes.
Trustee Grasso?
Yes.
5-0.
Make it fast.